I gave up on my marriage after 2 years of rejection. Here's what happened next. It was a Tuesday. Nothing special about it. No anniversary, no birthday, no holiday. Just a regular Tuesday night, and I was standing in the doorway of our bedroom, watching my wife pretend to be asleep. I knew she wasn't asleep. Her breathing was wrong. Too controlled. Too steady. The way people breathe when they're trying to convince someone they're sleeping. Her phone was face down on the nightstand, still warm from being used seconds before I walked in. "Hey," I said quietly. "You awake?" No response. Just that careful, measured breathing. I stood there for another minute, looking at her. At the shape of her under the blankets. At the space between us that had been growing for 2 years. At the woman I'd been chasing, pursuing, trying to reach, and who had been pulling away, inch by inch, day by day. I used to climb into bed next to her and reach for her. I used to whisper, "I love you," and hope she'd say it back with something in her voice besides exhaustion. I used to try. Every night. Every morning. Every chance I got. But not tonight. Tonight, I turned around. I walked out of the bedroom. I went to the living room, sat on the couch, and turned on the TV. Not because I wanted to watch anything. Because I didn't want to lie next to someone who'd rather pretend to be asleep than be with me. That was the night I stopped chasing. 2 years of "I'm too tired." 2 years of "maybe tomorrow." 2 years of reaching for someone who kept moving her hand away. 2 years of telling myself it was just a phase, just stress, just the kids, just work, just life. 2 years of believing that if I just tried harder, loved better, did more, she'd finally see me again. 2 years, gone in a Tuesday night. By the end of this video, you're going to hear what happened when I stopped. When I stopped initiating. When I stopped pursuing. When I started living like I was single, not dating, not cheating, just living for myself. And you're going to hear what it took for my wife to finally notice that I wasn't chasing anymore. Before I tell you how it fell apart, I want to tell you how it was in the beginning. Because I think that matters. I think you need to know what we had, so you understand what we lost. My name is Daniel, I'm 34 years old. I met my wife, Sarah, when I was 25. She was 23. We met at a friend's wedding, she was a bridesmaid, I was a groomsman. We were paired together for the entrance, and I remember thinking, as we walked down that aisle, that I'd never seen anyone so beautiful. She laughed at my jokes during the reception. She danced with me even when slow songs weren't playing. She gave me her number on a napkin that I still have somewhere in a box. We dated for 3 years before I proposed. Got married when I was 28. Had our first daughter a year later, our second 2 years after that. The early years were good. Really good. We were a team. We talked about everything. We made decisions together. We laughed together. We fought, sure, every couple fights, but we always came back to each other. There was always a moment, after the yelling stopped, where we'd look at each other and remember that we were on the same side. And the intimacy? That was good too. Not just sex, though that was good, but the small things. The way she'd reach for my hand in the car. The way she'd lean into me on the couch. The way she'd kiss me goodbye in the morning, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. I thought that was just how we were. I thought it would always be like that. I was wrong. The shift happened slowly. So slowly that I didn't notice it at first. It was like watching a plant wilt, you don't see it happening in real time, but one day you look at it and realize something's wrong. It started with the small things. The hand that used to reach for mine in the car stayed on her lap. The lean on the couch became a space between us. The goodbye kiss became a peck, then a wave, then just a see you later. I noticed, but I didn't say anything. I told myself she was tired. The kids were young. Work was stressful. Money was tight. All the usual things that couples go through. This was just a phase. It would pass. The first time she said, "I'm too tired," was about 2 years into our marriage. I'd initiated, like I always did. She'd said not tonight, like she'd never done before. I said okay, rolled over, and went to sleep. Didn't think much of it. The second time was a week later. The third time was a few days after that. Soon, "I'm too tired" became her default. Not every time, sometimes she'd say yes, and those times were good, but they became less and less frequent. The gap between yeses grew from days to weeks, from weeks to months. And somewhere in there, I stopped asking. Not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't handle the rejection anymore. Because every "I'm too tired" felt like a door closing. Because chasing someone who keeps running is exhausting. Let me tell you about the excuses. Because they weren't just "I'm too tired." They were creative. Elaborate. Almost artistic in their variety. "I'm too tired. I have a headache. My back hurts. I'm stressed about work. The kids wore me out. I'm just not in the mood. Maybe tomorrow. Can we just cuddle tonight? I need to wake up early. I ate too much. I didn't eat enough. It's too hot. It's too cold. I'm not feeling well. I'm just not there right now." Each excuse was a brick in a wall. And brick by brick, she built something between us that I couldn't climb over. The worst part wasn't the excuses themselves. It was the way she said them. Not meanly. Not cruelly. Just matter-of-factly. Like she was telling me it was going to rain tomorrow. Like it was just a fact, not a choice she was making. Like my feelings didn't factor into the equation at all. And I let her. I accepted every excuse. I didn't push. I didn't argue. I didn't say, "Hey, we haven't been intimate in 3 months, and I'm starting to feel like we're roommates instead of spouses." I just said okay and rolled over and stared at the ceiling, wondering what I'd done wrong. When you're in a situation like this, you build a narrative. A story you tell yourself to make sense of what's happening. My narrative was simple: I wasn't doing enough. If I was a better husband, she'd want me. If I helped more around the house, she'd have more energy. If I was more romantic, she'd be more interested. If I was more successful, she'd be more attracted. If I was just better, she'd love me the way she used to. So I tried. God, I tried. I did more laundry. I made dinner more often. I took the kids on weekends so she could rest. I bought flowers. I planned date nights. I told her she was beautiful. I told her I loved her. I did everything I could think of to be the husband she'd want to be with. And nothing changed. The flowers sat on the table until they died. The date nights got cancelled because she was too tired. The compliments got met with thanks and nothing else. The effort I poured in felt like water into a bucket with no bottom. I didn't see it then, but I was killing myself trying to earn something I already had. I was working so hard to be wanted that I forgot I already was wanted, or at least, I should have been. The fact that I had to earn my wife's desire was the problem. The fact that she made me chase was the problem. The fact that I was running in place, getting nowhere, was the problem. I did some research during those 2 years. Because I needed to know if I was alone. If other couples went through this. If there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Here's what I found. The numbers on intimacy in marriage. According to the General Social Survey, about 15% of married couples report having no sex in the past year. Among couples in long-term relationships, sexual frequency declines by about 3 to 5% per year on average. The most common reason cited for decreased intimacy? Too tired, followed closely by stress and lack of interest. The emotional impact. Studies show that sexual rejection, even repeated rejection, doesn't just hurt in the moment. It creates lasting patterns of withdrawal and resentment. Partners who feel sexually rejected are more likely to report depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. That pursue-distancer dynamic, where one partner chases and the other pulls away, is one of the most common and most damaging patterns in troubled marriages. What the experts say. Therapists call it the intimacy gap. One partner wants more connection, the other wants more space. The more the first partner pursues, the more the second partner withdraws. It becomes a cycle that's almost impossible to break without intervention. I was living that cycle. Every night I reached for her, she pulled away. Every time I tried to get closer, she moved further. And the more she moved, the more I chased. The more I chased, the more she moved. I was running after someone who was running away. And neither of us knew how to stop. There were so many conversations I should have had. So many moments where I should have said something, asked something, demanded something. But I didn't. Because I was scared. I was scared of what she'd say. I was scared of the answer. I was scared that if I asked why don't you want me anymore, she'd tell me the truth, and the truth would destroy me. So I stayed quiet. I swallowed my feelings. I told myself it was fine. I told myself it would get better. I told myself I was being dramatic, that this was normal, that all couples go through this. But it wasn't normal. And it wasn't fine. And the longer I stayed quiet, the more damage I was doing, to myself, to her, to us. Here's what I wish I'd said. Sarah, I need to talk to you about something. And I need you to really hear me. I feel like you don't want me anymore. I feel like I'm chasing you, and you're running away. I feel like I'm alone in this marriage, even when you're right next to me. I need to know what's going on. I need to know if you still want to be with me. Because right now, I don't feel wanted at all. I never said that. I just kept chasing. That Tuesday night, when I walked out of the bedroom and sat on the couch, something shifted in me. I can't explain it. It wasn't a decision I made consciously. It was like a switch flipped. Like I'd been running a race I didn't know I was in, and suddenly I realized I didn't have to keep running. I stopped chasing. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way she would notice right away. I just stopped. I stopped reaching for her in bed. I stopped initiating conversations about us. I stopped asking if she wanted to spend time together. I stopped planning date nights she'd cancel. I stopped complimenting her and hoping for something back. I stopped putting my energy into someone who wasn't putting anything back. I didn't do it to punish her. I didn't do it to get a reaction. I did it because I was tired. Because chasing her was exhausting. Because I'd spent 2 years running after someone who kept running away, and I had nothing left. So I stopped. Once I stopped putting my energy into chasing Sarah, I had to put it somewhere else. I couldn't just sit around being sad. I had to live. So I started living like I was single. Not dating. Not cheating. Just living for myself. The way I would if I wasn't trying to earn someone else's attention. I started going to the gym. Not to get in shape for her, for me. I started reading again, books I'd been meaning to read for years. I started a side project I'd been putting off. I started spending time with friends I'd neglected. I started doing things I wanted to do, when I wanted to do them, without checking to see if she wanted to come. I didn't announce any of this. I didn't make a big deal out of it. I just started living my life. And something strange happened. I started feeling better. Not immediately, there was still sadness, still hurt, still the dull ache of a marriage that wasn't working. But underneath all of that, there was something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. I wasn't waiting for her to want me anymore. I wasn't hoping for a text, a touch, a glance. I was just being. And being was enough. The first 2 weeks after I stopped chasing were quiet. Sarah didn't seem to notice. She was still tired. Still stressed. Still distant. But I wasn't reaching for her anymore, so her distance didn't feel like rejection. It just felt like distance. I'd come home from work, say hi to the kids, make dinner, do my thing. I'd go to the gym. I'd read. I'd work on my project. I'd watch what I wanted on TV. I'd go to bed when I was tired, not when she was. It was strange, at first. I'd spent so long orienting my life around her that I'd forgotten what it was like to just do what I wanted. To make decisions based on what I needed, not on what might make her want me. But it got easier. And by the end of 2 weeks, I realized something that made me both sad and relieved. My life wasn't that different without chasing her. Because she wasn't really there anyway. By the 4th week, Sarah started to notice. Not because I was doing anything differently. I was still there. Still a dad. Still helpful around the house. Still present. But I wasn't chasing. And that absence, the absence of my pursuit, was finally noticeable. She started asking questions. You've been going to the gym a lot. Yeah, I like it. Oh. Okay. She'd look at me sometimes when she thought I wasn't looking. Like she was trying to figure something out. Like I was a puzzle she hadn't realized needed solving. One night, she asked if I wanted to watch a movie with her. The old me would have jumped at the chance. Would have cancelled whatever I was doing. Would have been thrilled that she was finally reaching out. The new me said, I'm actually in the middle of something. Maybe later. She blinked. Like she wasn't sure she'd heard me right. Okay, she said. And went to watch TV alone. I felt a twinge of guilt. But I also felt something else. Something I hadn't let myself feel in years. Power. Not power over her, power over myself. The power to say no. The power to put myself first. The power to stop being available whenever she finally decided she wanted my attention. The turning point came about 6 weeks after I stopped chasing. I'd been out with friends, a Friday night thing I'd started doing. I came home around 11. Sarah was still up, sitting on the couch, waiting. You're home late, she said. Yeah, we lost track of time. Who were you with? Just the guys. Mark, Jason, a few others. She nodded. Then, after a pause, you've been going out a lot lately. Once or twice a week. It's nice to see people. I miss you. Those 3 words hit me harder than I expected. Not because I didn't believe her, but because I realized I didn't miss her back. Not the way she was. Not the distant, tired, unavailable version of her that had been my wife for 2 years. I'm here, I said. I've always been here. I know. I feel like you're somewhere else now. I sat down across from her. Where else would I be? I don't know. It's just, you used to try so hard. You used to do things for me. Ask me to spend time with you. Now you just do your own thing. Sarah, I tried for 2 years. 2 years of reaching for you, chasing you, trying to get your attention. And every time, you were too tired. Too stressed. Too busy. So I stopped. I didn't notice, she said quietly. I know. We sat in silence for a minute. I could see her processing. The guilt. The realization. The understanding of what she'd done. I'm sorry, she said. I know. What do we do now? I looked at her. Really looked at her. At the woman I'd married. The mother of my children. The person I'd spent almost a decade building a life with. I don't know, I said. I've spent so long trying to fix us by myself. I'm not sure I know how to do it with both of us. That night, we had the conversation I should have had 2 years ago. The one I'd been too scared to have. The one where we finally said the things we'd been hiding. She told me she didn't know why she'd pulled away. It wasn't me, she said. It was her. She was exhausted. Overwhelmed. Lost in the routine of work and kids and life. She'd stopped seeing me as her husband and started seeing me as her roommate, her co-parent, her helper. The romance had faded without her even noticing. She told me she felt guilty. Guilty for not wanting me. Guilty for saying no. Guilty for hurting me. And the guilt made her pull away more, because facing me meant facing what she was doing. She told me she loved me. That she never stopped loving me. That she just didn't know how to be in love with me anymore. I told her how it felt. The rejection. The loneliness. The slow erosion of my self-worth. The nights I lay awake wondering what was wrong with me. The day I stopped chasing because I had nothing left. I told her I loved her too. But I told her love wasn't enough. Not the way things were. Love without connection, without intimacy, without effort, that was just a word. A memory. Not something you could build a life on. We cried. We held each other. We said things we should have said years ago. And when the tears stopped, we were left with a question: what now? Let me share some of the research I found during those 6 weeks. Because I think it helps explain what we were going through. What causes a dead bedroom? Stress, work, finances, parenting. Resentment, unresolved conflicts, unmet needs. Communication breakdown, not talking about what you need. Routine, the predictability of daily life kills spontaneity. Medical issues, hormones, medications, chronic conditions. Emotional distance, you can't be physically intimate with someone you're not emotionally connected to. What makes it worse? The pursuit distance a cycle, chasing makes them run. Silence, not talking about it makes the gap wider. Assumptions, it assuming they know how you feel. Blame, making it one person's fault. What helps? Open, honest conversation, without blame. Professional help, therapy works if both people want it. Taking sex off the table temporarily, removing the pressure. Rebuilding emotional connection first, intimacy starts outside the bedroom. Patience, it took years to get here, it will take time to get back. I wish I'd known this 2 years ago. I wish we'd had this conversation then. I wish we'd gotten help before the damage was done. After that night, Sarah and I started the work. Not just talking, real work. The kind that takes time and effort and a willingness to be uncomfortable. We started going to couples therapy. Every week. We sat in a therapist's office and said things we'd been hiding for years. We talked about the resentment. The disappointment. The fear that we'd become our parents. The fear that we'd lost each other for good. We started dating again. Not that we should spend time together kind of dating. Real dating. Getting dressed up. Going somewhere. Talking without distractions. Remembering why we liked each other in the first place. We started touching again. Not with expectation, just touch. Hand on the shoulder. Arm around the waist. Sitting close on the couch. Small things that had disappeared without us noticing. And slowly, painfully, we started to come back to each other. But here's the thing about coming back, it's not the same as never leaving. The distance had changed us. The years of rejection had left scars. The trust that had been broken, not through infidelity, but through neglect, didn't come back overnight. I still flinched sometimes when she reached for me. Some part of me was still waiting for her to pull away. Some part of me was still protecting itself from being hurt again. She noticed. And it hurt her. Because now she was the one reaching, and I was the one hesitating. Here's the hard truth I had to accept. Stopping the chase didn't fix everything. It was necessary, I couldn't keep running after someone who wasn't running toward me. But it wasn't sufficient. Because the damage from those 2 years didn't disappear just because we started trying again. I had to unlearn patterns. Patterns of expecting rejection. Patterns of bracing for hurt. Patterns of keeping myself small so I wouldn't be disappointed. She had to unlearn patterns too. Patterns of saying no without thinking. Patterns of putting everything else first. Patterns of assuming I'd always be there, always be chasing, always be waiting. We were both trying. But trying doesn't mean succeeding. Some days were good. Some days were hard. Some days I looked at her and felt all the love I'd ever felt. Some days I looked at her and felt nothing. I didn't know if we were going to make it. I still don't know. But I know we're trying. And that's more than we were doing before. This whole experience taught me a lot about myself. Some of it was hard to see. Some of it was harder to admit. I learned that I was codependent. I'd built my happiness around her. When she was distant, I was miserable. When she was warm, I was elated. My emotions were tied to her moods, and that wasn't healthy for either of us. I learned that I was scared. Scared of being alone. Scared of not being wanted. Scared that if she didn't want me, no one would. I was chasing her not just because I loved her, but because I was terrified of losing her, and that fear made me chase harder, which made her pull away more. I learned that I had to be okay alone. The best thing that came out of those 6 weeks was learning to be happy by myself. To find fulfillment in my own life, not just in being her husband. To know that if this marriage ended, I would survive. I would be okay. I would still be me. I learned that chasing doesn't work. The more I chased, the more she ran. The more I needed her, the less she wanted to be needed. The more I tried to close the distance, the wider it got. Stopping didn't fix everything, but it was the only thing that could start the process. I learned things about marriage too. Things I wish I'd known before. Marriage isn't maintenance-free. You can't just coast. You can't assume that because you love someone, you'll always feel connected. Connection takes work. It takes attention. It takes showing up, even when you're tired, even when it's hard. Silence is dangerous. The things you don't say become walls. The conversations you avoid become distance. The feelings you swallow become poison. You have to talk. Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Rejection leaves scars. Every "I'm too tired" was a small wound. Alone, each one was manageable. But 2 years of them added up to something much bigger. Something that didn't heal just because she started saying yes. You can't want someone into wanting you. I spent 2 years trying to be good enough, trying to earn her desire. But desire isn't earned. It's either there or it isn't. And if it isn't, no amount of flowers or chores or compliments will change that. Sometimes you have to stop chasing to be caught. By stopping, I gave her space. Space to miss me. Space to notice I was gone. Space to decide if she wanted to come back. I couldn't make her want me. But I could stop making it easy for her not to. It's been about 4 months since that Tuesday night. 4 months since I stopped chasing. 4 months of therapy and dating and trying. We're not fixed. I don't know if we ever will be. But we're better. We're talking more. Touching more. Laughing more. There are still hard days. Still moments where I feel the distance. Still nights when she's tired and I wonder if we're sliding back. But we're both trying. And that's more than we were doing before. The other night, she reached for my hand in the car. The way she used to. I looked at her, and she smiled. A real smile. The kind that reached her eyes. I love you, she said. I love you too. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a movie moment. It was just 2 people in a car, holding hands, trying to find their way back to each other. I don't know if we'll make it. I don't know if the trust will fully return, if the scars will fully heal, if we'll be one of those couples who look back on this as the hard time that made them stronger. But I know I'm not chasing anymore. And she's not running. And right now, that's enough. If you're watching this and you're in a situation like mine, chasing someone who's pulling away, living on scraps of affection, wondering what you did wrong, here's what I'd tell you. Stop chasing. Not to manipulate them. Not to get a reaction. Stop because you're running yourself into the ground. Stop because you deserve to stop. Stop because the only person whose behavior you can control is yours. Put your energy into yourself. Go to the gym. Read that book. Start that project. Spend time with friends. Build a life that doesn't revolve around whether they want you. Not because you're giving up on them, but because you're not giving up on you. Have the conversation. The one you've been avoiding. The one that scares you. Sit them down and say the things you've been swallowing. Not in anger. Not in blame. Just honestly. Tell them how you feel. Tell them what you need. Ask them the questions you've been afraid to ask. Get help. If they're willing, go to therapy. Together. Separately. Whatever it takes. You can't fix this on your own. You couldn't fix it when you were trying, and you can't fix it now. Get professional help. Be prepared for the answer. They might not want to change. They might not want to try. They might not want to be with you anymore. That will hurt. It will hurt more than anything. But knowing is better than wondering. Closure is better than chasing. Know your worth. You are not defined by whether they want you. You are not less valuable because they're pulling away. Your worth is not up for negotiation. It's yours. It's always been yours. Be okay alone. This is the hardest one. But it's the most important. You have to know that if this marriage ends, you will survive. You have to build a life that's worth living, whether they're in it or not. Not because you're planning to leave, but because you can't build a healthy relationship from a place of desperation. So, what's the moral of this story? Marriage is hard. Intimacy takes work. Love isn't enough if there's no effort behind it. I spent 2 years chasing a woman who was running away, and all it got me was exhaustion and a growing pile of I'm too tired excuses. Stopping didn't fix everything. But it was the only thing that could start the process of fixing. It gave me space to breathe. It gave her space to miss me. It gave us space to figure out what we actually wanted. We're still figuring it out. Some days are good. Some days are hard. But at least we're both in the arena now. At least we're both trying. And that's more than we had before. I don't know if we'll make it. I hope we do. I love her. I always have. But I also love myself now. And that's something I didn't have before. If you're still watching, thank you. Thank you for listening to my story. I know it was long. I know it was heavy. But I think stories like this need to be told, because so many of us are living them. We're the chasers. The ones who try too hard, love too much, give too much. The ones who keep running after people who keep running away. The ones who tell ourselves that if we just try a little harder, love a little better, be a little more, they'll finally want us. But chasing doesn't work. It never has. You can't make someone want you. You can't earn desire. You can't love someone into loving you back. What you can do is stop. You can stop chasing. You can stop running. You can stop trying to be good enough for someone who isn't trying to be good enough for you. You can put your energy into yourself. Into your life. Into the things that make you whole. And maybe, in that space, they'll see you. Or maybe they won't. But either way, you'll be okay. Because you'll have yourself. And that's enough. It has to be. If you like this story and want to hear more real-life relationship stories, click the video on screen right now. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves. And remember, you don't have to chase someone who's running away. Sometimes the best thing you can do is stop, turn around, and start running toward yourself.